Peace be with you. Welcome to the Institute of All Intelligent Life. I'm Alan Kiesler, and today is Monday, the 14th of November, 2016. And this is a very special day by the moon. Today is a full moon, and in fact the full moon was just within the past hour. And it's a very special full moon today. I don't know if you've heard this, but the moon is closer to the Earth than it has been for decades. It's the closest the moon has ever been. The moon varies slightly in the distance between the moon and the sun, and the moon is very, very close to the Earth right now. Of course, we can't really see it very easily, the difference, but it is at this time closer. So we're going to talk a little bit about the moon today, and also I'm going to introduce a new aspect of our class, which is the forum that I've just put up on the Institute of All Intelligent Life website, that is allintelligentlife.com. So we're going to be discussing these two things today. We'll begin by doing a little meditation. I'll just inhale deeply. You can join me if you like. And then exhale slowly and deeply. Again, it doesn't matter the exact number. The way I do it is I count, I say Allahu, Allahu, Allahu 4 times. And then, I don't know what's going on here. I can hear something, but I don't know where it's coming from here. Okay, I guess it's gone off. So, the supermoon we will be discussing, and the forum. But first we will do this meditation. So, as I said, inhale to a count of 8 and exhale to a count of 16, or I'm sorry, there's something going on with the equipment here that I haven't quite figured out. So we got, I think, interrupted or paused there briefly, and the connection is weak, I see, so maybe I'm getting pixelated on your screens, but we'll keep going unless I get cut off, because we're going to get into some interesting topics today. But let's do this meditation first. I hope you can feel the difference in your mind when you do this deep breathing. It just immediately, the consciousness becomes more peaceful, the awareness becomes more relaxed. Very, very simple. Okay? I'm going to, one more time, do this deep breathing. And again, I think what's happening is that somebody, so this is very bad, I'm going to have to figure out how to block this. Somebody is trying to call me on my Facebook, I think, and it interrupts the broadcast. So I'm sure there's some way to stop that, but I'll have to learn that. I don't know very much about all these things, but so it keeps interrupting us. But we'll start again with one more deep breathing, and then I hope we'll be able to continue the class without too weak of a connection and without interruptions again. Okay, one more time. So for those of you who are in Pakistan, the moon is just rising, and for us here, the moon has just set in California. And I woke up early this morning, as did my wife, and we went outside to watch the full moon for a while. And as I mentioned, it was just within the past hour that the moon reached its full point. So my wife is much more in tune with these things than I ever have been, being a Native American shaman or medicine woman. She is much more in tune with the natural cycles of nature, including the cycles of the moon, than I am, having not been trained in that sort of understanding very much at all. But the moon is actually a very important feature of our existence. That's not difficult to understand. We know the moon, of course, creates the tides in our oceans. The moon also, of course, creates the lunar cycle of the month. And for Pakistan especially, the moon is important, as the moon, the crescent moon with the star, is the national symbol of Pakistan on the Pakistani flag. And the moon has a lot of influences on our minds and on our psyche. Our consciousness is influenced by the moon. We may not be aware of that much of the time, but just like in the English language, we say somebody is loony. It means somebody, luna of course means moon. So when somebody goes crazy, we say they're... Okay, I'm having connection problems again, and I got cut off. So I went outside to try to get the signal again. So I'm happy that at least by coming outside, it seems I can get a better signal. I hope this doesn't happen every day like it's been happening now recently. So it seems to be okay now. So I was talking about the moon, and the moon has a lot of impact on us, especially on our minds, and that's reflected in the English language words like loony or lunatic. A lunatic is somebody who's influenced by the moon in a negative way. It means he's gone a little crazy. That's an English word that's obviously related to our understanding on one level, that the moon influences our mind. So we have not been so aware of that in Western civilization and Western science. What is the effect of the moon on our minds? But it should be not difficult to understand, because we know, as I mentioned, the moon creates the tides, so the moon obviously has a lot of influence on the waters of the earth. So our bodies are mostly made of water, so why wouldn't the moon have some influence on the waters in our body also? And our brain is made largely of water, mostly of water. Our minds, our brains and minds could be influenced by the moon also. Anyway, we are fortunate to have sources like my good wife and mentor, who has more experience and knowledge of Native American traditions and customs and rituals, and she's well aware of the fact that the moon influences us. So we went out and looked at the full moon and did some meditation, and I was thinking that I was reviewing a little bit about the history of Islam and the Holy Prophet, peace be on him, and his life. And of course, at that time in Arabia, people were worshipping the moon and the sun and stars, and they had a complete misunderstanding of the relationship of the bodies in the sky, the moon and sun and stars, and divinity. They wrongly thought that there are different gods. And of course there is only one supreme God, which the Holy Prophet, peace be on him, had established clearly and strongly, as nobody else had done, at least for thousands of years. That understanding about the oneness of God and the original source of everything obviously has to be one. That understanding had been there and is there, and other planets and other star systems. People generally understand that, as I've said before. But on this planet, that understanding was clouded by polytheism. So in order to make sure that people did not fall prey to that confusion and to clear them from that wrong understanding, he stressed the oneness of God, and he downplayed the role of the moon and sun and stars. They do have a role, but it's not the role that people at that time, especially in Arabia, were thinking. So it's good to understand this, especially for Muslims. It's good to understand that the reason why the solar, lunar, and stellar influences were downplayed by the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, by the angel Gabriel and in the Quran, it's because they were so wrongly overemphasized and misunderstood. So just like if we look at the times of the namaz, salat also is in the morning before sunrise, and then afternoon, and then in the evening. Why was that? Because before that, in Arabia and in other cultures also, people would do worship right at sunrise. As the sun was rising, they would face the sun and do some puja, some sort of worship, and eventually, although I'm sure originally any genuine teachers did not teach that the sun is God, but people started getting that idea, and they would worship the sun as the divinity. And similarly, they would do a worship at noon, and they would do a worship at sunset. So in order to free the people from that false misunderstanding about the importance of the sun, worshiping the sun as a deity, these times for the daily prayers were set, specifically avoiding sunrise, noon, and sunset. So I hope that's a clear understanding. And so I hope if there are Muslims who object to what I'm going to say, it's because perhaps you don't realize this point that I've just made. I'm going to be talking about the moon a little bit, and the moon is actually a living being. I've talked about this earlier in this course in some classes some time ago, that as we learn from the Law of One books also, our sun, our moon, all the stars, our earth herself are all living beings, conscious beings. And they do have profound influence on us. So the influence of the moon is especially, the moon can affect our mind. We can become peaceful in mind by the influence of the moon, or we can become agitated and even crazy in mind by the influence of the moon. So there are certain rituals that are engaged in at the times of the full moon, the new moon, etc., which are meant for taking advantage of this understanding and the influences that the moon puts upon us. So it can be felt, although, as I've said before many times, our modern science is unaware of so many things. This is one of the things they're unaware of the importance of being in tune with the cycles of nature. So especially even the slight differences in distance of the moon do also have impact on us, and the cycles of the moon are very influential in many ways. Of course, there's the monthly cycle of women also, so we can be sure that the moon is influencing us in ways that we may not be aware of, that may not be taught in our modern educational system and by modern Western science at least. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the forum, which is a new bulletin board that I have set up on the Institute of All Intelligent Life website. I don't know if you've been there, but I hope you go there if you haven't. It is allintelligentlife.com, and if you go to the website, you'll see a number of buttons you can click, or right at the top underneath the picture and where it says All Intelligent Life, Institute of All Intelligent Life, there are a number of places you can click, and one of them is Forum, written in capital letters. If you click on Forum there, you can enter comments. You have to register. It's free, but you can register, and then you can make comments there. And I've decided, in order to make it much easier for me to sort out the really important comments from all the less important or ones, like people are making comments like hello, how are you doing, and things like that. So I hope in the forum it will be clear, because it takes a little bit more effort to do something than it does just on the Facebook chat. We'll get some really good serious questions and I'll be able to answer all of them. So people are accustomed on Facebook just to saying hi and how are you doing and assalamu alaikum and what's up, whatever. So I'm not going to be answering the questions. Gradually I'll introduce this. I won't do it all at once, but gradually I'm not going to be answering the questions here on the Facebook chat, but I will be answering the questions live on the allintelligentlife.com forum. So please become familiar with that. Go on to allintelligentlife.com. You can read a lot on the page if you haven't been there. There's an introduction to the Institute of All Intelligent Life, and there's an introduction to myself, and all of our classes and other writings of mine are posted there about intelligent life in the universe. And the forum is now up. I just did that. And so please join that forum and make your comments there, and I will be attending to those comments and questions, and I will answer them more fully than I've been able to. Because actually, sometimes, on the way this Facebook live chat works, the questions go by so quickly, I can't even see them. When there are so many comments, then they go by on the little screen so quickly that I can't even see them, what to speak of answering them. So that's one reason why I'm setting up this chat on my website, so that I'll be able to discriminate between unimportant comments, or less important, I should say, comments, and the very important questions and comments during these classes. So I hope that's clear. I think I'm going to go back inside now, although it's nice out here. The sun is going to be coming up soon here, and you can hear the birds. That's nice. You can see some of the beautiful flowers here. I'll just take a minute to show you. We have a lot of roses blooming now. Let me just walk around here a little and show you a few of the others. Well, here are some of the other. Here's another rose bush with a lot of roses blooming on it, and a lot of buds coming too. Here are a few other flowers. Those are zinnias. Anyway, we're so fortunate to have a beautiful place here. And I'll just head back to the classroom. Oh, let me show you. You may have seen these before. These are our neem trees here. Here's a neem tree. Here's another neem tree. You can see that wood there, that lumber. I'm building a tent or a sort of greenhouse in the shape of a pyramid to cover over the neem tree, because in the winter, I don't know if we've never had these neem trees outside during the winter. We've kept them inside last winter and just got them the previous year, so I don't know if they'll make it through the winter or not. The neem trees don't usually grow here in Northern California. And here's some beautiful flowers more. Let me just show you. Some beautiful morning glories. A few more. It's just so. These are all amaranth, these big red flowers. Little tomato plant. All right, let's go on in. We'll keep the signal now. So what I'm going to do is be on my computer. Here's my computer. And I'm going to be giving this class while I'm on my computer, looking at the posts that are coming up on my allintelligentlife.com forum. Here, let me just show you this. This is what it'll look like when you get onto the, when you get onto the forum here. It looks like this. So there's a place where you can sign up and register onto the forum. And then I definitely will be able to answer all of the questions on that. I'm going to make that my main way of answering questions. Okay, but I don't suppose anyone will have done that yet. But please do that after the class, or you can even do it now if you want. But after the class, we will begin that a little more seriously tomorrow and then in the coming days. Okay, but for today I'm going to go back and look at your comments here on the Facebook chat. And there are already a lot of comments, you can see, but they're mostly like, good morning. It also tells me when everyone is watching. So how distant close to Earth? Well, I guess, what is it, 273,000 miles is the distance of the Earth and Moon, between the Earth and Moon, but it doesn't change very much, but it does change a little bit. The Earth distance from the Moon to the Earth, it becomes a little bit smaller or greater. That's why we have different types of eclipses. We have eclipses that are annular, I think it's called, when you can actually see the sun around the edge of the Moon. That means the Moon is farther away. And when the Moon is closer and there's an eclipse, a solar eclipse, the sun is completely blocked out by the Moon. So that way also we can tell there are slight differences in the distance between the Earth and the Moon. So Walid Ahmed Khan Saib, I'm in Massachusetts. Where are you? I'm in California. My mother was born in Massachusetts, actually, Canton, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. But I'm in California. You're welcome to come here and meet me. Zahid Arif Malik, superb moon rather than supermoon. Thank you for that. What is it, sort of like a pun? Yes, it's a beautiful. We saw it earlier today, and now you can see it in Pakistan. Very, very beautiful, superb moon. Gemma Art always makes good comments here. I guess it's Gemma or Gemma. About the supermoon tonight in Islamabad. I guess we already have some pictures posted on the internet of it. Chuck Ray says, I live in New York, and on my way to work at 6 a.m. the moon was huge and absolutely amazing. And the, maybe it's nice yellow and orange. Rice yellow? Oh, rice yellow and orange. I guess that means like yellow rice. Okay, let's see. Beautiful moon. Nice topic today, sir. Adkan appreciates talking about the supermoon. I am going to just... What does supermoon mean, Mary Shaw asks. It just means that the moon is very slightly larger, because it's slightly closer to us. Does it bigger than from normal days? Yes, it's slightly bigger, although we really wouldn't be able to see that very easily. Gemma Art asks, does the word esoteric relate to the dimension ET belongs to? Well, there's a lot in this question. First of all, I don't think there's any linguistic connection, semantic connection between the word esoteric and ET. There may be, I guess, but I don't think so. But the other part of this question is, what about dimensions where ETs reside? So, of course, there are ETs in this dimension that we're living in also, and there are ETs actually as the word means, extraterrestrials from other planets. And there are also extraterrestrials, or maybe we should call them intraterrestrials, living within our planet, because some of them are from our planet just as much as we are. There are huge civilizations. Again, that's knowledge that has been blocked out by the cabal, who try to prevent us from knowing about that, because it would start introducing us to our true history, which they're trying to hide from us. So the intraterrestrials and the extraterrestrials, they live in our dimension also, but they also live in other dimensions. I've talked about this before. Sometimes UFOs, as they call them, flying saucers, or extra-dimensional craft from other dimensions, they fade in and out of our dimension. That is, you can actually be seeing them, and they might disappear, or they might fade in, they might appear out of nothing apparently. So that's because they actually live in a different dimension, and they can sort of change their frequency in order to be visible in this dimension. So ETs belong in this dimension as well as in other dimensions. Many other dimensions exist, and ETs live in many other dimensions, but they also live in our dimension, the same one that we're in. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the moon, and this is, my wife and I were discussing this morning a little bit as we were looking at the moon, that actually the moon is not what we have been taught it is in school or university or by most people. The teachings that we have is it's just like an ordinary body in the sky, like a planet, or it's not. Our moon is actually, it would be better described as a spaceship, a huge spaceship rather than a natural planet. It actually did not form naturally. We have different theories that our modern science and astronomy has taught us, that the Earth produced the moon, that is, the moon broke out of the Earth, like out of the Pacific Ocean. That's what I was taught when I was a child in school. But that theory was rejected for the most part because it's not scientifically explainable how that could have happened, and how the moon then could have ended up just where it is, or practically any theory. Moons are usually much smaller than the planets that they are the moons of, whereas our moon is, in the same order of magnitude as the Earth. So the moon is actually a body that was towed there. It was brought there by very, very powerful extraterrestrial beings. I don't actually know exactly who they were, and but they definitely were technologically very, very advanced, and they positioned the moon, as I talked about in detail in one class, in such a position that not only is the moon the same size as the sun, which creates solar eclipses, total solar eclipses, but the moon follows a path which, I was astonished to learn this, is exactly the opposite of the sun. That is, according to the seasons, the sun rises in the northern hemisphere farther north in the summer. Do I have it backwards? No, yes, it rises farther north in the summer, and it rises farther south in the winter. I'm thinking, maybe I've got this backwards. Let me think a second more about this. No, the sun does rise farther to the north, and then it follows a path through the sky, higher in the sky, whereas the sun rises during the winter farther south, and it stays farther south if you're living in the northern hemisphere. So therefore the summer days are hotter than the winter days. Now the moon, and very few people are actually aware of this, the moon follows just the opposite path. The moon rises higher during the winter, and it rises lower, farther south, and stays lower during the summer, just the opposite of the position of the sun through the sky. So this is amazing, how the moon was so exactly positioned to be exactly the same size as the sun, and to follow a path that's exactly the opposite of the sun. There's no easy explanation for that at all in terms of the different theories of how the moon was formed, practically almost by chance. However, it could have been foreign object, like a huge asteroid that was captured by the Earth. There are different theories that the scientists have, but none of them actually work. The only explanation that we have for the moon that's reasonable, that's rational, that's scientific, you can say, is that it was placed there precisely by intelligent being. We may say God, or you may say very highly intelligent and highly technologically advanced extraterrestrials, but whatever you say, it has to be admitted that the moon was placed exactly in one position. And the slight variation in the distance from the Earth makes the moon slightly bigger or smaller. And now we just are at the time, we've just passed the time an hour ago of the moon being the closest to the Earth that it's ever been in decades, for a long, long time, very close, which creates the supermoon. Okay, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about the moon too before we leave, but that is what's on the moon, or what's in the moon rather. I have talked a little bit about this before. The moon is actually not uninhabited. It certainly doesn't have much of an atmosphere, so most of the people that live in the moon don't live on the surface, or if they live on the surface, they have to live under a large dome. Just like if we were to create a city underneath the ocean, we could do it. We would have to create a dome to create a different atmosphere in the city, but it would be possible for us to do that. So similarly, there are large, maybe you could call them cities, bases on the moon surface, which are covered by huge domes. And I had posted on my Facebook page a picture, and on my website also, a picture that had been taken by the lunar orbiter of Luna of the Soviet Union many, many years ago, which was published, and it's available on the internet. You can do a search for it. There's that picture of that huge dome, about some 10 or 20 miles, like 20 kilometers or more high, a huge dome that somebody built who had incredibly advanced technology. And that is the race that was living on our planet long, long time ago, long before our human race. It was also a human-looking race, but much taller than we are. And that race built that dome on the moon and other huge structures on the moon a long, long time ago. And they used a material which is made out of aluminum, but it's a different sort of manufacturing process. It's not just pure and ordinary aluminum, but it's an aluminum alloy, which is super, super strong, very, very strong, which has lasted for millions and millions of years. So that highly advanced race, which is called the ancient builder race because they built many, many structures throughout our solar system and other nearby star systems also, including building huge moons. So there are moons of Jupiter and Saturn that, as we discussed a week or two ago, are actually look exactly like the Star Wars weapon called the Death Star. So there are huge moons of Saturn especially that were obviously, you can see just by the way they look, if you see the pictures that NASA has published and the heat signatures of those moons, you can see that they were not just natural bodies, they were built. The ancient builder race actually built those moons. So it may be that race is the one who built our moon also and put it in place there. But certainly they built huge structures on the moon and under the moon. There are, under the surface of the moon that is, there are not just a few layers, but there are at least 100 layers. There may be hundreds of layers of, that is, levels of, just like stories in a building, different levels in the building, different stories in a building, there are hundreds of layers of cities and bases and research institutions under the surface of the moon. So this is just astonishing information, but this is really what our moon is all about. And some of those builders were much taller than we are because those layers or those stories are much, much taller than we are. And the structures in them show that those builders were at least, I can't remember the exact, some it looks like 30 feet tall maybe, or maybe much taller than that even. So there were huge beings in the distant past who created not only the moon as they positioned it, evidently, they built it, and they built all these structures underneath the surface of the moon, which our secret space programs have gone to, and they have been able to acquire some of those areas of the moon, and they have their bases there. And there are huge structures there, even cities we would call them, but rather than just a base or something. And many, many different ETs, many different extraterrestrial families or civilizations have their bases on the moon and under the surface of the moon especially. And there are a few structures that have been photographed by NASA, and a few of them have leaked through their net of, as I've talked about before, they airbrush out the pictures that, or the structures on the pictures that they do release, or they don't release the pictures at all. But all this information is coming out now in the secret space programs. All right, let me see what time it is. Okay, it's 7:07. So, again, now I don't know what all these beeps are coming in. Let me see if I can get rid of them. Right, okay. Okay. So let me repeat one more time that I'm asking everyone to make comments on the forum on my website. allintelligentlife.com is the website of the Institute of All Intelligent Life, and I am going to begin answering all the questions there and not answering the questions on my Facebook chats. So please, gradually, I hope everyone will do that today or tomorrow, go onto that website and sign up on that forum, register on it. You just have to put in a username and password, and then you can log in, and you can participate in a much more detailed question and answer program than I've been doing here. And I promise that I will answer all the questions, at least as long as I can, unless they get too many. But for now, I definitely will answer every single question in as much detail as I can on those on that forum. All right, let me just see if there's anything else important. Okay, it looks like I've got one comment here that Gemma Art has given me the pronunciation, because I didn't know if it was Gemma Art or Gemma Art. It's not Gemma Art's real name, he or she says, but they manage the page under that name. All right, I will just conclude this class by singing. I don't know if you've heard this, but when was it? About a year and a half ago, I was in Pakistan, and one morning I woke up with a tune going through my head, and a song actually, about the moon of Pakistan, the Mehtab-e Pakistan. So I'm going to sing that to conclude our class today, and it's just it's very wonderful, very simple song. उरूज महताब पाकिस्तान की खुशकिस्मती, उरूज महताब पाकिस्तान की खुशकिस्मती, 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 उरूज महताब पाकिस्तान की खुशकिस्मती, उरूज महताब पाकिस्तान की खुशकिस्मती, 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 खुशकिस्मती. So if you don't know Urdu, I'll translate that. The meaning is very simple. Uruj Mehtab is the moon rise. So Uruj Mehtab in Pakistan means the moon rise of Pakistan, and Khushkismati means good fortune, or good news, you could say. So it's the good news or the good fortune of the rising moon of Pakistan. So that is my conviction that I have shared many times, and I will repeat one last time right now, not the last time I'm sure, but one more time today, that Pakistan is a very special place, and world peace, inshallah, God willing, will be established in Pakistan in the near future, and from Pakistan will spread all over the world, and that's very good news, good fortune for Pakistan. So most of my students are Pakistanis, and perhaps that's because my conviction is so strong that Pakistan is a very, very unique place, and it's not just my idea. Many, many great saints and Sufis have talked about how Pakistan will have a unique place in the world. Really, I'm not prejudiced. Maybe I am prejudiced because I was raised in Pakistan the first 18 years of my life. I was a resident of Pakistan, but not for that reason alone, but because I have been told myself by Sufis and great spiritual personalities that this is what's going to happen, that Pak Islam, or pure Islam, which means love and peace, harmony, unity, justice, will be established in Pakistan, and from there will spread all over the world. So Baba Sufi Barkat Ali, you may or may not have heard of, he's a great Sufi saint who lived in Faisalabad. He was from eastern Punjab, but he moved to Faisalabad eventually, and he told this very interesting fact. He said that in the future the entire world will turn to Pakistan for guidance, and the United Nations, or all the nations of the world, they will get guidance from Pakistan. So he said this is definitely true. I may not be alive. He has passed away now. He has left this world. But he said, I may not be alive to see that day, but it will definitely come. In fact, he was so confident, he said, if it doesn't happen, you can come and spit on my grave. So he was sure. I'm also sure that that's going to happen. The moon of Pakistan is now rising. You can see the full moon, the beautiful full moon. The full moon of Pakistan is rising. The crescent moon of Pakistan is rising. The new age, the dawn of the Aquarian age, as we say. The new age is coming. We're now experiencing that time period when the day of judgment is happening, when the old age is ending and the new age is beginning. And I believe strongly, firmly, that Pakistan has a very important role to play. So I hope that I can participate in that by helping people understand that fact, and also very, very important fact, practically for me at least, the most important fact for us to learn about is the presence of extraterrestrials visiting our planet, influencing us and our civilization for thousands of years really, and especially now, just in the last 100 years or 50 years, in the last 10 years or 5 years, more and more, extraterrestrials are interacting, helping us also, and some have been controlling us, trying to manipulate us, but we need to know about that, and that's really the purpose of this class. So, thank you. I just will make one look at one last comment here before I end. Imtisal Kadir has written, what do you say about Mars 2020 after this mission? They will be taking people to Mars. Won't the ET over Mars be revealed then? Yes, it'll be very hard for them to keep the secret then when they start taking people. But actually, they are taking people to Mars already, and they have been for several decades. The secret space program, as I talked about it in some detail earlier in this class, the Germans were first ones in the 1940s, if not 1930s, who went to the moon and to Mars also. And the secret space programs of the United States and other countries, working together often, they have also gone to the moon and Mars even before the 1969 NASA landing. The secret American and other nations' space programs have gone to the moon and to Mars. So Mars 2020 is just a NASA-type cover-up program. They say we're going to go to the Mars in 2020 or 2030, 2035. They give different dates when they're going to go to Mars. But actually, they've already been there for several decades. And a number of people who have been to Mars, just like Andy Bashago, who I voted for the other day for President of the United States, and Corey Goode is probably the most important other one, or maybe the most important one by far in my opinion, who has been revealing a lot of information about these secret space programs. He has also been to Mars, and a number of other people have revealed that they've been to Mars. Laura Magdalene Eisenhower, the great-granddaughter of American President Eisenhower, has said she was invited to go to Mars. She was told that she can be taken to Mars and live a wonderful life there. She refused, but she's talking about that. So many people have already been to Mars. So the truth is coming out slowly, although the government of the United States and secret governments of the world, they're trying to conceal this fact, but it is coming out anyway. So please continue listening to our classes. We're going to talk more about this, and we will learn more and more about the presence of extraterrestrials, their relationship with us, and what we should be doing in order to both ourselves and our whole societies, our countries, and our planet become more in tune with the real purpose of our lives, which many extraterrestrials know much better than we have been commonly taught in our schools and colleges. So thank you all very much for listening, and I look forward to discussing a little more about the secret space programs, about extraterrestrials, and about the history of our galaxy, although as I mentioned the other day, that's less important than to purify our hearts and to become kind and loving ourselves. That's the real purpose of our lives, and that's going to be the ultimate purpose of this course that I'm teaching. I'm going to stress that a little bit more now too. Okay, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you. And in the meantime, please go on to the website allintelligentlife.com. It's listed there on my Facebook page also. And sign up on the forum for discussions. And not only you can ask me questions, there can be discussions amongst yourselves also. So please do that for sure. And beginning tomorrow, I'm going to be stressing more the comments on that forum than the comments here on my Facebook page during these classes, during the chats. All right. May God protect us all.